Watch how a brave MP tears into Keir Starmer during a blistering Commons speech that left Parliament stunned. In a moment packed with frustration, anger and raw emotion, accusations of patronising behaviour and political hypocrisy exploded across the chamber. This wasn't just another routine debate. It was a direct challenge to trust, integrity and the credibility of Britain's political leadership. Before we continue, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to Britain Daily.
Saoirse Eastwood.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I just want to put two things on record here before I commence my remarks. So, the Labour Party don't stand for election in Northern Ireland. We do not have elections next week or the week after. So, everything I'm about to say has got absolutely nothing to do with a so-called political stunt. But everything to do with the integrity of this House. And by the way, I find patronising the context that we shouldn't be discussing these things because the government of the day want to get on with the cost of living. I have had 2 car bombs at the edges of my constituency in the last 5 weeks, so believe me, there are much bigger things that I would prefer to be talking about at this time. However, it is incumbent upon everybody in this House to make sure that everything we're doing is completely above board. Now, last week, I posed the question. I don't know why Mandelson was appointed. Prime Minister then said it was a mistake. But here's what I don't understand. Everything that was out there about Mandelson that would have been cause for concern was open source material. It was out there. Peter Mandelson wouldn't have survived the vetting for a kids' football club. And rightly so. And yet we're expected to believe from those benches that it's nothing to see here, we're going to do some process here and there, it's a bit of a hoo-ha, as if there's been a bit of opprobrium around an appointment of a local Rotary club. But don't worry about that. It seems to be jobs for the boys going great guns over the road there. Instead of a meritocracy, it's a chumocracy. And that is at the nub of this. We cannot get answers as to why this was done. So what I'm asking today, will the real Prime Minister please stand up? Please stand up. Is it the man who wanted to tread lightly on our lives? Is it the man who promised a decade of national renewal? Is it the man who said that he was going to do things by the book and better? Because in my nearly 2 years here, I have not seen that. This should not be about party politics. This should be about doing the right thing. And I'm here as one member of my party, so I'm aware that I'm speaking from a place of privilege myself. But believe you me, there's a stink here, and the public smell it. And if we're serious about getting better in terms of making our constituents' lives better, in terms of proving that this place can deliver, well, every single person here today has a choice. Make the right one.
I will leave it at that. Wonderful.
Thank you ever so much, Mr. Speaker. The Prime Minister said that in each humble address that his party laid in opposition, they mentioned national security. Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister has left. However, I have checked the 2 most recent humble addresses laid by the Labour Party when they're in opposition, and all members on those benches should be very aware the words national security do not feature even once. Because it is not necessary in a humble address. So, Mr. Speaker, how do we get the Prime Minister to correct the record when he's just chosen to leave the room?
Don't be ridiculous. Can I just say to you, you put it on the record, I don't want to continue the debate, but you put it on the record, so it's there. Right, wonderful, Church.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Now, the Prime Minister, in response to me just now, appeared to deny ever being instructed by disgraced lawyer Phil Shiner. Yet I have here the 2007 case of Al Jeddah versus the Secretary of State for Defence, where it quite clearly says appellants instructed by public interest lawyers include one Keir Starmer QC. Perhaps the Prime Minister might want to return to the House and clarify his earlier remarks.
I'm not here to continue a debate. You put it on the record, we will leave it at that. Right.
Welfare spending is set to rise by another £70 billion by 2030. And the last time I asked the Prime Minister about this, he said he was mending the system. Well, since then, Mr. Speaker, this disastrous Labour government have raised taxes on working people to give even more to those who don't. The people I speak to across Broxbourne think that this Labour government are taking them for mugs. So what does the Prime Minister say to working people across this United Kingdom who are being asked to pay more and are getting less?
I'll tell them they were let down very badly by the last government for 14 years, and we're clearing up the mess.
How many more businesses need to close, jobs be lost, and apprenticeship opportunities trashed need to happen before this Prime Minister understands that the practical outcome of his policies aren't working?
Well, I'm concerned here of those examples. We have put in place support for small businesses, and I'll make sure that's available to him to pass on to his constituents.
Mr. Speaker, perhaps if the honourable gentleman would like to give some of the money that his former Reform leader in Wales got from Russia to the defence budget, we'd have a wee bit more than we have today.
There is not a serious professional in the defence industry that thinks the current spending is adequate to meet the world's needs. Does the Minister think it's a serious investment that we're currently making at the moment?
He's right that we need to increase defence spending. I want to increase defence spending. We have already increased defence spending, and by April 2027 we'll be spending 2.5% of GDP, 3% in the next Parliament. But I entirely appreciate how the honourable gentleman is making his remarks. I'm very happy talking to him. I'm sure the Minister for Veterans next door about his own experience, see if we can learn and help others in a similar situation.
I have every sympathy with patriotic defence ministers who are being sent out to try to put a brave face on the fact that they are being undermined by their own Chancellor of the Exchequer. Isn't it a fact that someone as collegiate, experienced and patriotic as Lord Robertson would never have spoken out in the way that he has done if he did not recognise that the defence team, his party's defence team, are being undermined in this way?
No, I'd say it's deeply unedifying to hear both the Minister and others playing political games with the matter of national security. Look, we can all look at the past. I can tell you about the body armour that I had to give over to somebody else for the invasion of Iraq because we didn't have enough in 2003. I can point to the underfunding of helicopters that meant that friends of mine were killed on operations in Afghanistan because they were underfunded under governments before his, but yes, wearing the same colour tie. We can all point to the past. The question for him is not what happened in the past, but what are you going to do about it in the future? The Defence Investment Plan, the Minister says, is not urgently needed because he's spending anyway. Well, why is he wasting his time in producing the damn thing? He could spare those civil servants to actually get contracts delivered instead of messing around with games, or actually put his heart behind the fight with the Treasury that needs to be had right now, as his own friend Lord Robertson has already made clear.
Well, I really like the right honourable gentleman. Actually, I think he's a very jovial chap, and he raises some good points. And let me say to him, the Defence Investment Plan is needed. It is being worked on by our department. We will be delivering it when it is ready, but we are not waiting for the Defence Investment Plan to make announcements.
Why this government is able to set out its welfare spending plans until 2031, but can't publish its defence investment plan for 2026.
I thank him for his question. I don't think Britain gets stronger by pushing kids into poverty. That is the fundamental difference I see it between the welfare policies of our two different parties. And so I'm absolutely clear that we should be addressing the high levels of child poverty that we inherited from the last government. That's exactly the right things we should do. And he will also know, because I've said it a number of times, that we're working flat out to deliver the Defence Investment Plan, and it will be published when it's ready.
That was a remarkable and deeply emotional speech, and one that clearly struck a nerve inside the House of Commons. What made this moment so powerful wasn't just the criticism aimed at Keir Starmer, but the wider frustration behind it. Across Britain, many people are struggling with rising costs, declining trust in politics, and the growing feeling that ordinary voices are no longer being heard.
When MPs begin openly questioning integrity, transparency and leadership in such blunt terms, it resonates far beyond Westminster. The public expects honesty, accountability and leaders who practice what they preach. And tonight, that frustration erupted into the open. Saoirse Eastwood's comments reflected something many voters are feeling right now, that politics has become more focused on protecting reputations than restoring trust. Whether you agree with her or not, it's clear this debate has intensified pressure on the Prime Minister at a time when Labour can least afford more controversy. The big question now is whether this scandal fades away or becomes another major turning point in British politics. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Britain Daily for more explosive political moments, powerful speeches, and the stories shaping the future of the UK.